Page 23. A work progress administrator, WPA, turns up. About this time, a petition from the firm of Barataria and Company was received by the authorities asking for a Lombard loan, an amount equal to the entire bank reserves, that is, the surplus nuts of the Pinus Moneta. The petition was based on the argument that the commonweal would be helped if now, with the great surplus production which had appeared, active demand could be created. With this money, the firm would relieve the market and thus place the citizens in the desired possession of the store of value. A Warner reads a lesson from history. As our Baratonians were naturally kind-hearted, nobody suspected any harm behind this proposal. Only Diego Martinez entered a protest. He read to the meeting, convened to decide on this, from the book of Genesis, chapter 47, where it is said, verse 14, and Joseph gathered up all the money that was found in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan for the corn which they bought. And Joseph brought the money into Pharaoh's house. Verse 15, and when the money failed in the land of Egypt and in the land of Canaan, all the Egyptians came unto Joseph and said, give us bread, for why should we die in thy presence? For the money faileth. Verse 16, and Joseph said, give your cattle, and I will give you for your cattle, if money fail. Verse 17, and they brought their cattle unto Joseph, and Joseph gave them bread in exchange for horses, and for the flocks, and for the cattle of the herds, and for the asses. And he fed them with bread for all their cattle for that year. Verse 18, when that year was ended, they came unto him the second year, and said to him, we will not hide it from my Lord. Now that our money is spent, my Lord hath also our herds of cattle. There is not aught left in the sight of the Lord, but our bodies and our lands. Verse 19, wherefore shall we die before thine eyes, both we and our land, buy us and our land for bread, and we and our land will be servants unto Pharaoh, and give us seed, that we may live and not die, that the land be not desolate. Verse 20, and Joseph bought all the land of Egypt for Pharaoh, For the Egyptians sold every man his field, because the famine prevailed over them. So the land became Pharaoh's. With the word, he who has ears to hear, Martinez closed his speech. But with loud laughter they replied, "What could the old Jews tell us about this purely business matter?" How a bear market is prepared. Thus the bank reserves were delivered to the firm of Barataria and Company, and immediately the purchase of the provisions of the Baratonians began. However, the firm bought only certain products, things that were indispensable. The firm had particularly set its eyes on seeds and on getting, if possible, exclusive control of them. The Baratonians, not suspecting anything, sold whatever they had and were happy if they succeeded by moderating their demands to sell the contents of their storerooms for money, the value maintainer, the useless seed of the Pinus moneta, of which there were entire forests in Madagascar, and which had served as food for rats until they found something better. This occurred in the fall. An educational lecture. The Chronicle then describes the excitement of the Baratonians in the following spring, when it became known that the entire stock of seeds was in the possession of the firm of Barataria and Company, and that prices had been raised arbitrarily to such a point that many could not fully pay for the seeds they bought and had to give promissory notes to Barataria and Company. Instead of the desired store of value, they now had debts and an empty storeroom. Santiago Barataria, the head of the firm, made a public lecture on the subject, Citizen Duties in a Democracy, wherein he told the Baratonians the full truth about their indolence and intemperance. He who does not want to hear will feel it. I shall make you get rid of the Philistine by the help of Beelzebub. When I warned you of Carlos Marquez and his store of value, you laughed at me. Now I am laughing at you, he said, slapping at his stuffed pockets. Unexpected changes. Money stored instead of goods. The chronicler gives a wonderful rendition of all the changes that developed in the trade habits of the people, how everything became infected by the spirit of the store of value error and disintegrated. Cash payment was replaced during the first days by the credit and installment system. The wares which nobody wanted for storage were sold in smaller and smaller packages. All lived from hand to mouth, and more merchants were needed to accomplish the distribution in small quantities.